So here the Rebbe is going to talk about the teichen of the parsha connected with the name, and why the name of the parsha is so important when seemingly there might be more important things in the parsha than the name Shlach, like the mitzvah of tzitzis, that through tzitzis we remember all the mitzvahs, and we talk about Yetzias Mitzrayim. To call the parsha by the name Shlach must have a very important message that is more important even than talking about tzitzis or other things that are in the parsha and the sachim and so on. So we're going to begin. Kvar dubar kama pamim shetoichna ikri shekol sedra kol haparsha sheba. It's not just that the beginning part of the sedra, but the entire sedra. Merumes b'shem shehi nikra al pin minig Yisrael ashetoiru. So therefore, whenever you have the name of the parsha is not just about, let's say, the beginning of the parsha. It has to do with every single part of the parsha. V'chein b'seder d'shavua zeh shenekras b'shem shlach. U'mzeh muven sheb'shem zeh mitzbatas ha'nekuda ha'ikri shel ha'inyonim ha'medubarim b'chol ha'parshas b'aseder. In other words, all the different things that it talks about. It talks about tzitzis, it talks about nesachim. It doesn't just talk about the Meraglim, it doesn't just talk about shlach. V'tzarech lahavin nekudas ha'inyan d'shlach l'cha anoshim hareu rak sipur koiros b'nei Yisrael b'yoysim b'midbar. V'loi mitzvah shenitztavu l'kaima v'kiyoytz b'zeh. The parsha sheb'seder zu habois la'achrei sipur ha'meraglim yesh b'hem mitzvahs l'doiros. Not a one-time event, not a one-time occurrence. There's mitzvahs that have to do for all time. Magam shaparsha shebesim hasedra she mitzvahs tzitzis im mitzvah klolis hamevil eschiras kol tayag mitzvahs k'meshakasav v'reisam oisoi. When you look at the tzitzis, uzchartem es kol mitzvahs Hashem. So therefore, really, an important part of the sedra is tzitzis. It's only telling a story of something that happened in the past. And that's why it's something that is the name of the Sedra. Even though, of course, the Rebbe is not minimizing the idea of a story in Torah. Because a story in Torah Melashon Torah, even stories in Torah, he says in Ha'ara 3, is meant to be a lesson. But still in all, a story in the Torah is not like a halacha in the Torah, it's not like a mitzvah in the Torah. A mitzvah is a lot more obvious and clear and open, directed from Hashem, what we're supposed to do. So therefore, how do we call the entire story, the entire Sedra, including parts of the Sedra that are mitzvahs, that are applicable to all time, with a name of something that just had to do with a one-time event? Nikras hasedra b'shem shlach, lefi sheteva zu ba b'tchilus hasedra, v'chol hasedra nikras al shem haschalasa, which is the simple reason, without the Rebbe's emphasis. That's why you approach the person. You ask him, why is it called Shlach? Yeah, it's the beginning of the Sedra. It's the first few words. It's Shlach, so we call it Shlach. And since the entire Sedra is called by its beginning, Hari afi maschalasa hi sibas Hashem, mikol mokim mekiven shezel shem al pitoiram, Hari Hashem moira al toichen kol hasedra kanal. The Rebbe, in other places, brings what it says in Shar Yichud V'Amunah, that the name of something in Lashon Kodesh is the chayis of that thing. The fact that something is called Evan in Lashon Kodesh is the chayis of Hashem for the Evan, for a rock. The fact that it said in Dasara Amoris, Yehi Oir, so the letters Aleph Vav Reish is the chayis for Oir, and so on and so forth. So if it's that way, concerning Nivroim, Beruim, and Maisa Bereshis, the truth is, or we know, that's the same thing in everything. The name of a person. It's like a miniature nevuah. Why is the name of a person like a miniature nevuah that only, let's say, the parents can give? Because the name of a person, his Lashon Kodesh name, is the source of his life. And the same thing, how much more so in Torah? That when in Torah we have something, a parsha in Torah is called by the name, obviously it means that the whole chayis, the whole toichen of the parsha has to do with that name. Ois base, still on the first page. So here the Rebbe is going to speak about the classic issue about Chet Meraglim, one of the topics, there's certain topics and certain themes that the Rebbe often repeats and talks about. And there's the very famous issue about the Chet Meraglim. They're very strong. Very fortified. Children of giants, or people that were giants. Okay? So the Rebbe asks a very basic question. They were meant to report things. They weren't sent over there to whitewash the situation. They weren't sent to go to Eretz Yisroel and make sure when you come back, you have to say only good things. Nobody told them that. This was specifically what they were asked to do. Are the people strong? Are the cities fortified? Are they open cities? Are they fortified cities? They answered exactly. What did the Meraglim do wrong? Moshe Rabeinu sholcham lihivodam be'eze derech va'oifen kal yoser lichboishes Eretz Yisroel ube'eze mokim kedai yoser lahaskal hakibush. Why was that necessary? We're going under the assumption that the Yidden knew from Hashem that they would enter Eretz Yisroel. So what's make a difference which way they go? Whatever way they go, Hashem will make sure they'll be able to get in. Why was it necessary to find out what's the best way to go in? How do you deal with the nations? Forget it. Just go because Hashem told you to go. Because they wanted to do it b'derech hateva. Hashem does not make a miracle for no purpose. Gam im soif kol soif yezoku kol nes lasis hatoli boy bederach hateva ulamayet es mispar hanisim ayes proteanes ad kama she'efshar. We don't say, since Am Yisrael to fight, it said over there were 31 kings in Eretz Yisrael, 7 nations in Eretz Yisrael. Am Yisrael was not a very strongly trained army. They just came out of Mitzrayim. They just came out of being enslaved for 210 years. Definitely didn't have unbelievable training in military tactics. So for sure, they would need to have a miracle to be able to conquer that nation. So if they need to have a miracle anyway, so who cares? We'll go this way, we'll go that way, we'll know to go around, it anyway needs a miracle. So the Rebbe says, even if you do need a miracle, it doesn't make a difference. You want to try, even when there is a miracle, to limit the amount of the miracle. Not whatever aspects of it you could do in a natural way, we want to do in a natural way. And what we can't do in a natural way, okay, so Hashem is going to take care of it by a miracle. It wasn't that Moshe Rabeinu was sending spies to see, should we go into Eretz Yisroel? Are we going to be able to conquer Eretz Yisroel? That wasn't a doubt by Moshe Rabeinu. Moshe Rabeinu knew for sure that we'd be able to go into Eretz Yisroel, that we'd be able to conquer. Why did he know? Ki kein tziva Hashem. Ulav Meraglim la'achri shesipru al dvar ha'am va'orim va'oretz. Now came the problem. They added their own commentary. Haisifu ve'isiku maskana loinucha lalois ela'am ki chaziku memenu. Hainu shemachmas hakushim shero bekibush Eretz Yisrael b'derech hateva hisiku shloinucha lalois l'koivsha af al pi shekein tziva HaKadosh Baruch Hu. By the way, even in modern spy agencies, there are two different parts of, let's say, the CIA. One is the people that gathered information, whether they're agents on the ground or they gathered the information through electronic means. And then there's someone else. There's called analysis. There's a different section that's called the analysis section. They take the information that comes in from different sources and they analyze what the situation is. And then they bring it to the president, they bring it to the Secretary of Defense. Can we do this? Should we do this? And so on. But the guy that's the spy doesn't go ahead and say opinions. I'm sorry, we can't go ahead and conquer Iraq. We can't go ahead and conquer Afghanistan. That's not his job. This has nothing to do with you. Don't get mixed into these things. The Meraglim gave an opinion. Nobody asked your opinion, especially since the opinion went against what Hashem said. So the first part that they said, they described the nation, that was fine. They described the cities, that was fine. When they started giving an opinion and commentary, we can't go in, that's what the problem was. Gimel. So the Rebbe goes straight to Ayram. So that's what I'm saying, this sikh is a little bit straightforward, not so much back and forth. He's going to bring a few Hayras from this, right away, Ois Gimel, second page of the sikh, right away into Ayram. Pisa moving Shayram Mesipra Meraglim he shayeches leklolis hatoiro mitzvahs. Yisoid ikri bekiem kol mitzvahs hum hayedia shemekiven shamitzvahs hem tzivuye hakadosh baruch hu barur hadavar sheefsher lekaimon. Ki ein hakadosh baruch hu mevakish elo lefi koichan. It says it's a very interesting thing. The Rebbe, again, in many, many places he says, and he echoes this Maimer Chazal, that Hashem said, Ein ani mevakish lefi koichi, ela lefi koichon. Hashem's koich is unlimited. But you should know that when I ask from a person to do something, Torah, mitzvahs, and so on, I only ask according to what they're capable of doing. And the Rebbe says this is a rule that it's clear, it's impossible to say otherwise. And the Rebbe is now going to, even though the Rebbe says this all over the place, but here the Rebbe is just going to give us the logic. When you're speaking to a person and trying to explain him this idea, why is it so sure? Maybe Hashem asks of us things that it's not possible for us to do. So the Rebbe says a very logical thing. If you're talking about a person that talks intelligently, we're not talking about Stam Amshuganer. Lo yitzave lasis davar Bi'im yodeya she'ein bi'yecholos hamitzvah l'kaim. Why would I ask a person that can't do something to do something for me? What's the purpose? What's the reason for it? I only ask of a person something that I think and I believe he can do. Ubefrat im hatzivui ba ma'adam she'asas hamitzvah. How about if I'm the one that made the mitzvah? The closest example perhaps could be with a parent. I gave birth to this kid. This kid is growing up in my house. I know him very well, so I know what he's capable of. A teacher might not always know what he's capable of. A stranger definitely doesn't know what he's capable of. Now, who ultimately knows what we're capable of? Hashem, who made us. Hashem for sure knows what we're capable of. If I'm building something, I'm building it for a purpose. I make a car, I make it to be able to drive. It doesn't make sense that a person is going to build a car that can't drive, because the purpose of building the car is to be able to drive it. The same thing, Hashem made us, He built us, to be able to do Torah mitzvahs. So for sure, He built us with that in mind, that we should be able to do this. The only difference between the mashal and the nimshal is if I'm doing something or Hashem does something. I can decide I'm going to make something, right? There are people that tried to build cars and it became a flop because a person, a human being, can make a mistake. And the car is not going to come out that's able to drive. But Hashem doesn't make such mistakes. Therefore, If a human being, when he builds something, builds it with the kavanah of making it work, they should be able to do what it has to do. How much more so? Another thing is, he is the ultimate of goodness. He's the ultimate of doing things right and justified. A power that Hashem is responsible to put in the person. And you can't say that Hashem miscalculated. He thought I could do it, but he made a mistake. It's impossible. So therefore, logic dictates that when Hashem asks us to do something, it is totally and completely possible for us to do. It literally doesn't make any sense otherwise. For example, let's say you have a mitzvah of, you have a baby boy, you got to get a bris for the baby boy. So you say, you know what? I never learned anything about bris milah, but, I'll come over there and Hashem only asks of us what we're capable of doing, so I'm going to go do the bris. Obviously, it doesn't make any sense. Hashem told us to shecht an animal or to make film, so I'm going to go ahead and make film, even though I never made it before. I'm going to shecht an animal, even though obviously it doesn't make any sense. You need to do whatever is the proper preparation, so you should be able to do the mitzvah b'derech hateva. And then the Rebbe adds, not just ein soimchim ala nes when it comes to a mitzvah. A mitzvah specifically is not supposed to be done in a miraculous way. V'adrabe, inyan ikri b'mitzvahs hu l'kaimon b'derech hateva, kiven she'ikir inyanim hu lasla yizbarach dira b'tachtoinim. The whole purpose is that this world should become a dira for Hashem. B'meila tzarech li is kiyumam b'darkei hateva dafke b'chdei sheteva ha'olam atzmei b'chinas tachtoinim ye'asa lo yizbarach dira lo yizbarach. So therefore, it's not just you shouldn't rely on a miracle. A mitzvah should not be done in a miraculous way. And everybody's familiar, I'm sure, with what the Rebbe always brings from the story of the Alter Rebbe, how the Alter Rebbe was once crossing from his prison cell. He was crossing a certain river to go to interrogation, and there was a Levana out, and he wanted to make Kiddush Levana. He was on a boat, and you're not supposed to make Kiddush Levana while the boat is moving, so he asked the captain of the boat to stop the boat, and the captain didn't want, and then miraculously it stopped, and once it miraculously stopped, so the captain was willing to stop it manually. And then, only after the captain himself stopped the boat, that's when the Alter Rebbe made Kiddush Levana. And the Rebbe asked, if it was already stopped miraculously, why do you need to make Kiddush Levana? Why didn't he make Kiddush Levana right away when the nest happened and the boat stopped? Why do you have to wait until after the boat started again? And then the captain stopped it? Because it's necessary to do a mitzvah b'derech hateva. And because of that, he wanted the captain now to stop it. And there's many different cases where the Rebbe brings similar cases and similar examples. There's a Sikha the Rebbe speaks about that during Makas Choshech, when the Yidden had to go look during Yitzias Mitzrayim, they had a tzivui to find all the different things to collect from the Mitzrayim. So whether it was a miracle, how they were able to find it or not, the Rebbe talks about it. Chanukah, of course, a big shaila about the oil. It can't be Shem and Shalnes, because then you're not doing it with natural oil. It has to be, it was miraculous oil. Anyway, this is a concept that the Rebbe speaks about a lot in different places. So therefore, since every mitzvah has to be done naturally, so say the same thing. When Hashem told the Yidden, we're going into Eretz Yisroel, so Moshe was looking the way to fulfill this mitzvah of entering Eretz Yisroel in a natural means. V'lchein tzarech li is shlach goymer v'yasuru goymer bechdei ladas beiza oifen efshel l'kaimas ha-mitzvah the oli nala b'derech hatev. Ois daled. V'hinei mekiven shayra zu shayeches umuchrachas bechol ha-mitzvahs. Now we're going to see why Shlach is the name of the entire parsha, and why it has to do specifically, this lesson in the Torah has to do with going into Eretz Yisroel. There could have been different situations where we would see about the importance of relying on Hashem, that He's not going to ask of you something that you can't do, and still you have to do whatever you can. Could have given an example by other mitzvahs. But which mitzvah did He choose? Did the Torah choose to teach us its example? By Yidden going to Eretz Yisroel. Hu inyan klali b'chol ha-mitzvahs kulam. V'abir b'zeh, toichen u'mailos Eretz Yisroel mevur b'kasav eretz asher goymer eini havai lekecha b'mereish hashana v'adachret shana hainu sheba ha'ashkocha al yoyna hi ba'ifim pnimi v'goli yoysim v'shara rotzes. That's what it means that Hashem's eyes are on it. Eyes means focus, interest. He's concerned about it, he's worrying about it, even though Hashgacha Pratis is on everything and everywhere. But Eretz Yisroel has a special Hashgacha Elyon. Zois Emeres shebe'eretz HaKodesh gam behagashmi shebe'oretz v'inyaneha nirgesh elekusi yizbarech begilu yois. Al piza muvan sham shachas kedusha gluya hainu elekus be'inyan v'davar gashmi. When a person does a mitzvah, what's he doing? He's bringing a lakus down into a physical thing. He puts on tefillin, he's making the tefillin holy. He learns Torah, he's making the Sefer Torah holy, and so on. Hareze bedugmas knisas hadavar va'apula va'adam apoyel Eretz Yisroel. I'm taking the physical thing, I'm taking the tefillin, I'm taking the action of putting on tefillin, and I'm taking myself, the one that's putting on the tefillin, and all of us are entering Eretz Yisroel, metaphorically speaking. We are all entering the Kedusha and the Hashgacha of the Eibishter. Zois Emeres, shekiyum kol mitzvah bedugmas knisa l'Eretz Yisroel. Ki kiyum ha-mitzvah su kanal amshachas alakus b'inyanim gashmim, sheyasu ayidei zeh dir lo yizbarech. So, the Rebbe says a very interesting thing in Ha'ara 14. It says there's so many things that the Torah tells us, there's sheish schiras, things that we have to remember. Why doesn't the Torah tell us to remember our going into Eretz Yisroel? It tells us about remembering going out of Mitzrayim, remembering Melchamos HaMolech, even remembering what happened with Miriam. Why going into Eretz Yisroel is such a major thing? Because you don't need to remember it. Every mitzvah that I do is a knis Eretz Yisroel. I'm putting on tefillin, I'm taking the tefillin and me and the action into Eretz Yisroel. I put a mezuzah on my doorways, I'm bringing everything into Eretz Yisroel. So every single action that he does is knis Eretz Yisroel. Hey, so that's why this lesson is taught specifically here, and it's a davar klali. Beforehand, we were saying, why do we call a parsha of the Torah Shlach when it's just telling a story that happened once upon a time, doesn't really have a practical application? No, it has an application in every single mitzvah that we do. In everything that Hashem commanded us, we have to know that Hashem gives us the koiches to be able to do it. Koidem kol mitzvah mitzvah ala adam lizboinen betoichen ha mitzvah she'oimid lekayim. Person needs to not jump into a mitzvah. This is one of the reasons for brachas in general. Whether brachas on food or brachas on mitzvahs, and the Rebbe is going to mention it soon about the brachas on mitzvahs. When we're making a bracha before either eating or before doing a mitzvah, it's meant for us to take a moment. Take a moment and think about what I'm about to do. So if I make a bracha before eating, I have to take a moment and think, this is from the Eibishter, and this is meant to be used for serving Hashem, and so on. The same thing, I make a bracha before doing a mitzvah. Don't just do the mitzvah, take a moment to think. This is going to be something asher kedishanu mitzvahs v'tzivanu, like he's soon going to explain. So he says, not only before doing a mitzvah do I need to think about the particular idea or message that's to be found in this particular mitzvah. What's the kavana klalis? What's the tzad hashava? What's the kavana shaykh in all mitzvahs? By the way, it says that mitzvahs ain't tzirchis kavana. I don't need to have the kavana pratis of a mitzvah, but I do need to know that I'm about to do a mitzvah of the Eibishter. Like it says in Hilchos, for example, in Hilchos Rosh Hashanah. If somebody is blowing shofar on Rosh Hashanah, but he's at all not thinking about the mitzvah, he's just practicing, so then he's not yotze the mitzvah of shofar, and the same thing, someone that's listening to him is also not yotze the mitzvah. So there has to be a general kavanah that I'm going to fulfill a mitzvah of the Eibishter. The same thing over here, there's the kavanah klolis that the Beracha helps us feel and understand and realize that's why we make a Beracha before the mitzvah. That's the general kavanah that a person needs to have before every mitzvah. Kol birchas ha-mitzvahs, we say this. Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvahs v'tzivanu. Shaydei kiyum mayas ha-mitzvah nase kodesh. The person becomes himself kodesh through it. Kiddushanu, when I do a mitzvah. Like we said before, I'm entering Eretz Yisroel. I'm becoming holy. Umekayim hu mashatziva oisai HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Avaydeza misached imay. That this is the meaning, v'zel lashon kiddushanu. Kiddushanu is I'm becoming Kaddish. V'lashon mitzvah, melashon tzafsa v'chibur, togetherness and joining. So this is the general idea that I'm trying to bring home before doing the mitzvah by saying this Beracha. And we make sure to say the Beracha before doing the mitzvah. Almost all mitzvahs, we say the Beracha before the mitzvah. There are certain exceptions because for whatever reason we can't say the Beracha afterwards. For example, there's a geir that says that he's not yet a yid, so he can't make the Beracha on the tefillah before he goes under the water. He makes the Beracha on the tefillah afterwards. There are certain exceptions to it, but in general, the Berachas have to be what's called over l'asiyason before you do it. Berachas u'mevarchim l'fnei kiyum ha-mitzvahs over l'asiyason l'hoyroi shel l'fnei asiyas ha-mitzvah ala adam li'izboinen b'toichim v'kavana ha'klali shel kol ha-mitzvah. If the Berachas was only, let's say, giving thanks for the Eibishter, so there's a certain thanks that you can give after you do something. For example, Birchas HaMazon is a bracha you make after you finished eating. Once you're satisfied, once you finished eating, you make a bracha achroina. If the bracha of the mitzvah was only about celebrating and thanking Hashem for the opportunity that I got a mitzvah, that I did a mitzvah, so then why does it have to be before it? You could say it after you did the mitzvah. But because the Birchas HaMitzvahs is meant to bring me to a recognition and to a feeling of the Eibishter before I do the mitzvah, and to realize that I'm becoming Kaddish through the mitzvah and I'm becoming connected with Hashem through the mitzvah. That's why we take a moment before the mitzvah and pause and say the Beracha. Not just by mitzvahs, but also by learning Torah. Both before we get an aliyah, and every morning in Birchas HaShachar, we have to make this Beracha. Hashem is giving us His Torah. In the present tense, not Nasan Lanos Torah. Still in all, or not still in all, but in all of this, a person needs to take a moment before he learns Torah. Allah Adam lizbainen kaidem limrat Torah. There's also the story with the Tzemach Tzedek. I think it was with who was it with? It's like I'm blanking now. Which chassid this was with? I went in to the Tzemach Tzedek, and Tzemach Tzedek as a kid, he was a kid, and Tzemach Tzedek told him every single time, before you make a bracha, you should think about who you're making the bracha to. And ever since then, he always used to put his hand over his forehead to think a moment, whatever. His whole entire life was in that type of approach. But it wasn't just meant for him. Obviously, this is a lesson for all of us. So now going back to our parsha. V'zoi ha'irav Yasuras Eretz Canaan ha'nemra b'turachana l'knisel Eretz Yisroel. L'fnei kiyum ha'mitzvah tzarech ha'adam lasur. What's it mean, lasur? Lasur is also like investigate. You have to look into. You have to be mizboinen. Ulizboinen b'inyana v'kavanasa v'tachlisa shel ha'toira v'ha'mitzvah sheba lilmid v'lakayim. Like we said before, learning Torah, doing mitzvahs is like going into Eretz Yisroel. So just like when the Yidden went into Eretz Yisroel, then 3,335 years ago, when they were supposed to go in, before the Chet Meraglim. So they had to investigate, they had to search out and make sure to go in the right way. The same thing when we are entering into Eretz Yisroel, every single time. Through learning Torah and doing a mitzvah, we also have to be losur. We also have to investigate. Al pi ze move on ech shetoichne shel shlach shemoishe hu ha'meshaleach. And it's not just then. Once upon a time, Moshe was Mishalech. Val derech ze bechinas Moshe Rabeinu al v'shalom shebechol nefesh v'nefesh b'Beis Yisrael. The Alter Rebbe says a very important thing in Perek Membeis in Tanya, that every single Yid has a part of the neshama of Moshe Rabeinu within him. He brings a raya from a pasuk and a Maimar Chazal, Ma Hashem shoel mi'imach, kim li'yiraisei, and the Gemara says that it's a milsa zutra, it's a minor thing from Moshe Rabeinu, and that's proof. We're talking to every Yid, we're asking the Moshe Rabeinu that's within him to fear Hashem. So every Yid has a Moshe Rabeinu within him. And the Moshe Rabeinu within him is the one that directs him and sends him. He hanekuda hayisoidis the chol parshis hasedra shekul nekroi shlach. All the different parts of the sedra, mitzvah sitzis, nesachim, whatever mitzvahs are in this week's parsha, it all falls under the category of Moshe Rabeinu within us, is giving us the power and the strength to go and do what we're supposed to do. V'loi oidal shenamra b'tchilos hasedra, the word shlach. Koidem shenamra tzivuyim sheba. Kairos hanal hanul modis mesipur shaloch hameraglim, boys kagdama v'yisoid l'chol hamitzvos. So now, the question is, on the other hand, if this is such an important idea, shlach l'cha, that we have to go into Eretz Yisroel and we have to look for ways to do it and we have to be mizbainen, and it's such an important thing that the entire Seder is called by this. So why do we see that Moshe Rabeinu was actually told by Hashem, I'm not telling you to do this. You're going to do this on your own. This is such an important idea. How can such an important idea be left just to Moshe Rabeinu to do on his own? The Rebbe does this a lot of times. He'll show how powerful it is, and then we'll ask, so what was the problem with it? In a way, there was a problem with it. The Eibishter told him, or it seems like there was a problem with it, because he was told, Shlach l'chol adaitcha. I'm not doing this. This is on your dime. You're going to do this. Amnam al pian mal tzarech lahavin ma'acher shein the shlach goyim v'surat Eretz Canaan. Yes, by Hayrois Ikris Visaidiyos, Hare Lechura, who Inyan Echreichi, this is so important. But Lama Tala Kodesh Baruch Hu Inyan Zabadaita V'Tzayin Shal Moshe B'Amrei Shlach Lecha. And the Chazal and Rashi asked, why say Shlach Lecha? What's it mean Shlach Lecha? It's also like in Parshas Lech Lecha. Rashi wants to know, why say Lech Lecha when it tells Avram? So it says Lech Lecha B'Shvilcha, it's for your benefit. The same thing, why does it say Shlach Lecha? Shlach lecha, shlach hanoshim. Why say shlach lecha? So from that we learn out ledaitcha. This is something that you're doing. It's your choice. Ani eini mitzavalach, the Eibishter told him. Im tirtze shlach. The question is, if it's such an important thing, then why was Hashem like saying, it's not my thing, it's your thing. V'yuvnal piyam b'vor le'el. Shetachlos ki matayru mitzvahs hilahamshech alakus binyanim agashmim. Ube'ofen amar b'medrash b'negel lechidush the matan Torah tachtoinim yalul al yoinim what The Rebbe always brings down from the Medrash that until Matan Torah, those that were below were separated from those that were above, came Matan Torah, and Tachtoinim were elevated to above. Hinei achiluk shbein elyon denidin dedan letachten bein boide kiviyachol nivrahu sheboide ubechinas mashpia v'nivrahu bechinas makabel. That's the normal way of things. Hashem gives and we receive. Hanivra mitzad atzmai ein lo kol metzias. What is he? The Eibishter is the whole time making him. V'hu makabel kol metzias ma'boide. V'yoshe inyan matna Torah v'mitzvah sha'atachten yis'ala lebechinas ha'elyon kiviyachol. So I need to leave behind my makabel state. I need to go beyond being a makabel. I need to be an initiator now. In general, Matan Torah, Hashem told us what to do. Do this, do that, do the other thing. But then we still remain a tachten. We want the tachten should go up to be an elyon. I need to be someone that's doing things on my own initiative. The Chazal say concerning someone that learns Torah and does mitzvahs, Nasa shutaf la'kadosh baruch hu b'maisa bereishis. In creation, Hashem is the mashpia, and the Yid not a makablim. But if a Yid does Torah mitzvahs, he becomes like a partner with Hashem. It's not anymore Hashem is on top and I'm on the bottom. He's the mashpia and I'm the makablim. Shuhu b'chinas mashpia kiviyachol b'maisa bereishis. A Yid is now becoming a mashpia into the world. V'chein b'Torah arei amar zal shakadosh baruch hu chiyech v'omer netzchuni banai netzchuni. The famous story over there in the Gemara about when there was a machlokes between Amoraim and there was different miracles that were done to prove according to a certain Amora, and then the other Amora said Torah lo b'shamayim, and Elyo came and said that when we said that, the Eibishter said, he smiled, we said, Natzchuni, Banai Natzchuni. In other words, all of a sudden it turned around. The Yid became the Mashpia, and Hashem became Kaviyachol the Makabel. Zeu Amitis in Shutaf. So the Rebbe says a very basic thing. What does a partnership mean? A partnership doesn't mean that whatever one partner says goes and the other one not. No, that's an employee and an employer, a boss and a worker. So the boss tells him what to do and the worker does it. A partner does not mean that way. So he says, when you talk about a partner, sometimes one has the right, the final say, and sometimes the other one. So when you say Yidden are considered a partner in the creation, so sometimes we are the ones that determine what's going on in the world. Yidden actually add to Torah. Yidden actually increase in Torah. And it says even that Yidden and Torah are likened to a chasna and kala. The Torah is the kala and Yidden are the chasna. So just like chasna and kala is a mashpia and makabel, so too the Yidden are being mashpia and the Torah is makabel. Pisa muvan zeh shayros anal shvin shlach koim of Yisuru. Loi namru b'ofen shel tzivoy. Hashem didn't want us to be a mashpia makabel relationship, that Hashem tells Moshe what to do, even though it's necessary. Why? If Hashem would tell him this, if Hashem would tell him, I want you to investigate, so he's still just following what Hashem told him. So he's just a makabel. So he still remains on the level of tachtoinim. You're not gaining the tachtoinim should go up to become part of elyonim. Shari soif soif ein el mekayim tzivui. She's al gamnesim es koyach, like we said ma'aboyre. Zoysemeres sha'adayin hu miktsasei mekabel ma'aboyre, because Hashem commanded and I'm fulfilling the command. That Moshe Rabeinu's opinion was the one that determined this. ומזה מובן בעומק יסר טעם הקדום הסיפור שלוח המרגלים לציוויים. Why the mitzvahs in the Torah of this week's parsha are only later. And the first thing in the parsha is about the story with the Meraglim and the story of sending the Meraglim. Now, Torah mitzvahs, like we said before, that these lessons that we learn from Shlach is general lessons that has to do to all ideas of Torah mitzvahs. Also the manner in which the Hiras were told. That Moshe Rabeinu was told, Shlach l'chol ha'daitcha, melamed tachos hakavana the Torah mitzvahs. And therefore it came first. Tachtoinim yal al yoinim, and that is expressed when it's Shlach l'chol ha'daitcha, when Moshe Rabeinu was allowed to make the decision on his own. He wasn't told to do this, we did it on our own.